Hello there. Welcome back to Language Professora. We are still on our grade 7 literature text. In this video, we are now at chapter 5. Chapter 5, Miss Dresseller pays a visit. This is a chapter that I think you found quite interesting. It had a little bit of, excitement and energy and flair. So let's take a look at it, see what's going on. We are given a little bit of a synopsis regarding what life for the Grants has been like after Mrs. Grant left. I want you to think about it and give a little bit more detail regarding what their life is like after she left. Usually, when Mr. Grant is not home on a Saturday, tell me the reason why he's not home, because he's at the market. What is he doing at the market? Figure it out. Frank and his friends, they run a boat, all right? It is described what they do, but run a boat is a Jamaican term, and I want you to tell me what run a boat means, okay? On this particular Saturday, they have no meat for their boat, and here we have a conflict. Remember the conflict? A problem that needs a solution. They spot Frank's uncle's rooster and they decide to use that rooster as their meat. After much chasing, they finally catch it and kill it, which is the climax. And they hide the feathers, so there's no trace of it, so there's a resolution to the problem of no meat. They found the meat, they killed the rooster, problem solved, everything is all wrapped up. But if it was all wrapped up, why would the chapter be named Miss Dresseller Pays a Visit? Who is this Miss Dresseller? In the midst of all of what they're doing, because they think now that they're okay, they have their meat, they're running their boat, they're good to go. But another problem pops in the form of Miss Dresseller. She's a neighborhood gossip and she stops by. Right away, the boys know that they're in trouble because she knows whose rooster it was. So there we have another problem popping up. So they thought that they were scot-free, they killed the rooster, nobody knows. But now someone knows. Their conflict now is how can they get her not to talk? Because they know that she's going to hightail it to Frank's uncle's house. So how can they get her not to do that? They also know that she won't go immediately. Why is it that she's not going to go right away? It's in the story, so read it and tell me. Instead, they know she's going to be going the following day. So they decide to lay in wait for her. And they know that she's afraid of dogs. So when they see her coming, when she gets close to where they are in the bush waiting, they bark at her, and she thinks it's dogs in the bush, and she runs away. And there you have the climax and the resolution of that part of the chapter. But it's not over. It takes a little while, but Miss Dresseller has not forgotten that she has some information to share. In the meantime, Uncle Son has been looking for his rooster and he cannot find it. It has been a couple weeks and the rooster cannot be found. Now, Frank thinks that everything is okay because it's been a couple weeks and maybe he has forgotten everything about the rooster and Miss Dresseller telling his uncle and all of that. But Miss Dresseller has not forgotten. And so eventually, Miss Dresseller and Uncle Son's paths cross and she tells him in a roundabout fashion that Frank and his friends killed his rooster. So now we have some suspense being introduced because as the reader, you are now aware of something in the story that the other characters do not know, right? Now when you go further in your studies of literature, maybe in grade 8, 9, 10, maybe even up to CSEC, you will understand what that component is that I just discussed, where you as the reader, you are aware of something that the other characters in the story do not know. But let's get back to this, right? So suspense introduced because Miss Dresseller told Uncle Son that Frank and his friends killed the chicken. So Uncle Son goes to Frank's father's house, his brother, and after an argument, he forces Mr. Grant to pay for the rooster. Another conflict develops because Frank, as per usual, is not letting it go at that. He decides that he is going to get back at her once and for all. So he hatches a plan and he tells Nathan that he wants a patu. A patu is a Jamaican term for an owl. So they find the patu and everything. They do what they're doing with it. In the meantime, Frank goes to Miss Dresseller and, he talks to her quite normally as if nothing is wrong between the two of them. And he asks her to take a fowl to the market to sell for him. And she agrees. There is a discussion of some other goods and things. I want you to tell me what are some of the other things that they discussed in coming to this agreement for her to sell the fowl for him. I also want you to tell me what did Frank do to make the patu, the owl, more believable in terms of it being a fowl and not really a patu. All right? Now, another thing that Frank did was he set a time and everything in terms of when he would be bringing the fowl to her, and he did it at the last possible minute so that she wouldn't have a chance to examine it before she got to the market. This introduces suspense because, again, the reader knows something that another character does not. You, the reader, know it's not a fowl, it's a patu. Miss Dresseller does not. It's now in her possession. Suspense is introduced. Will she find out? When she gets to the market, she has an immediate customer who came looking for a fowl. Tell me the ethnicity of the customer who came looking for the fowl. More suspense is introduced because Miss Dresseller still does not know it's not a fowl. Eventually, though, after examination, it is discovered that she was trying to sell a patu instead of a fowl, and this creates a scene in the market. So we have our climax to this particular situation. She runs away and she begins to walk back home. So she's not going to bother going back on the market truck. Way down in the night, the other vendors come back to the community and they are discussing what happened in the market. Now, Miss Dresseller's husband, he was looking anxiously for his wife because there was something she was supposed to bring back from the market for him. What was that thing that she was supposed to bring back for him? It's way down in the wee hours of the morning now, at about 3 a.m. that Miss Dresseller turns up at home finally. That was a mighty long walk. She keeps a low profile in the community after that, as she's being mocked everywhere that she goes. And that's the resolution of that particular conflict. Now, I kept all of it together rather than separate it into parts because everything happened in a sequential manner and they're all connected to the same event, the same story. So that's why I didn't have the part 1, part 2 in this case. Other elements that we're looking at, we look at our characters, of course, Frank and his friends, Miss Dresseller and her husband, Uncle Son, Mr. Grant, and the other market vendors. The patu could also be a character, okay? Remember, we said that our characters can be people, they can be things. The setting that we're now looking at, of course, it is still the countryside. That has kind of been established by now. It's the countryside. We have different days of the week coming into the picture, so like a Saturday, a Sunday. We also have a period of time that has elapsed because it's some weeks between the killing of the rooster and the confrontation with Miss Dresseller. We also have different times of day, morning, night. Another thing that I want to ask you though, what era do you think we are now in Jamaica? If you think about some of the previous chapters and some of the clues that have been given thus far, and perhaps even in this very chapter, some clues are being given with regards to the era in Jamaica's history that this story is taking place in. What era do you think it is? Some themes: childhood and friendship, of course. We have deception and trickery. Tell me how those themes came out and who are the characters that brought them out. And we also have gossip. We have retaliation slash revenge. Tell me who brought out these themes and how they were brought out. Some questions I have for you. I deliberately did not call his name because I want you to tell me what is the name of Miss Dresseller's husband. And I ask because it's not Mr. Dresseller, okay? I also want you to describe the character of Miss Dresseller. And I put here both physically and in terms of her personality. Because we want to remember that our characters are twofold. It's what you can see and what you can't see. So you can always tell me what she looks like. But what about what kind of person she is? So what behavior does she portray that brings out the personality that you're going to come up to say that this is what she's like? Do you think Frank was right for what he did to Miss Dresseller? If you think he was right, tell me why you think he was right. If you think he was wrong, tell me why you think he was wrong. And finally, how could revenge have been avoided in the first place? As usual, happy reading!